Right. Morning to you all. Uh, Today, I want to make a small presentation on the analysis of the Zimbabwe electoral delimitation report. Um, I'll start by the definition of delimitation. This is the action of fixing the boundary or limits of something or dividing uh, a line or a boundary, that is according to the Oxford Dictionary. Um, Now, according to Section 161 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, it's the one that guides the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission on the delimitation exercise. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission divides Zimbabwe into wards and constituencies. One constituency is made up of a certain number of wards. So this is how delimitation is done. Um, I will say something about the voter registration. According to the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, ZEC reported on the delimitation, and what they reported is the number of registered voters is 5,804,569. Of these, 50.03% um, actually inspected the voters' roll. They used the USSD star 265 hash through tail 1 in Econet. They also used the BVR inspection link. This is according to what they say. Okay, right. We also move into analyzing the voter registration timelines. Uh, the voters roll closed for delimitation on the 30th of May 2022, and we want to know whether this time was enough for over 5 million people to inspect the voters roll. The voters roll was also opened for inspection from the 17th of July 2022 to the 26th July 2022, which means there was a period of about 9 days for the inspection through all these channels. Okay, now let's look at the delimitation map of Zimbabwe. The delimitation map of Zimbabwe looks like this. We have Matabeleland North Province, which is over here. You see it, the Matabeleland North Province. Then we come to Matabeleland South Province, which is over here. You can see the map. Midlands Province, you can see, is one of the largest provinces in the country. You can see it stretches from this part of Gokwe area going down into the middle part, which constitutes of Kwekwe, Slobela, and then the southern part, which you now consists of your Chirumanzi, Shurugwi, and so on. Right, then Masvingo province, you can see Masvingo province is here. This is how it is subdivided by ZEC. And you look at Mashonaland West province, it's up here. And then Mashonaland Central province, Mashonaland East province, and then Manicaland province, lastly say. Okay, so this is how the electoral map is designed. You also see the tiny metros. Okay, our big metros, Harare and Bulawayo. We have your Harare here, the Bulawayo here. Okay, so right, let's proceed. In Zimbabwe, there are 210 constituencies according to ZEC. The constituency population is calculated as follows. CP means constituency population. This is found by um, the voter population over the number of constituencies. So in this case, we have 5,804,569 27,569 divided by 210. This gives you an average population in each constituency is 27,641, rounded up to the nearest person. Where CPA is the average population per constituency, there's also an allowable upper limit and lower limit of 20%. So in this case here, the lower limit is 22,113 and the upper limit is 33,916. Okay. So what does that mean? This means that if you want to find the number of the population that is allowable in each constituency, you need to take 20% of each, and then subtract 20% from the constituency population. You get the lower limit, and that 20%, if you add it to 27,641, you get the upper limit. Okay, so how does this work? Here, we look at constituencies as represented in parliament. It means that now, for you to get the number of constituencies, you have to divide the population of each constituency into the total population to get the number of seats that you need for each province. Okay, so these are the total number of seats according to ZEC. Okay, and these are the ones that we calculated using the same formula which ZEC used. Okay, based on the actual numbers that were given. Okay, now if you look at this here, this is the theoretical constituency population. In other words, when I say theoretical constituency population, it's when you actually divide 27,641 into the whole of the population, theoretically, not based on the actual numbers that are given from each population, but this is a theoretical distribution, okay, of the population. If you wanted to theoretically analyze what each constituency would have, or it's not its constituency as such, but each province would have. So if you wanted to find the average constituency population, then we'll divide this by the number of these seats in parliament to get the constituency population. Okay. All right. Now the delimitation analysis in general, the province that has the greatest number of, or the largest population is these two here. Okay, you can see Harare and Midlands are leading in terms of population. As I have mentioned before, that if you look at the population of Midlands, it's actually one of the largest populations. In fact, the largest province in the country in terms of population. But when you look at Harare province, it is the largest in terms of population in the metros, when you look in the metros. But when you look into the other provinces, it is actually Midlands province. And all other provinces, as you can see, they've got this kind of distribution of the population. But if you look at the lowest is Bulawayo province, Matabeleland North and Matabeleland South provinces have the lowest number of the lowest population in terms of electoral boundaries. Okay, now let's proceed to this is the calculation that we found, proposed. In other words, the recommendations that we give to ZEC to actually change it to this, because this is actually calculated using the numbers that are given from ZEC constituency populations. Okay, so if you wanted to know how this is calculated. It's a very simple exercise. What you need to do for you to be able to do these calculations, you look at the constituency population. Okay, constituency population. The constituency population, you divide that by 27,641. Then you get the number of members of parliament that must represent that province. Okay, so in this case, for Bulawayo, it's 12. The difference here is 1, and the difference here, you can see there's a little bit large difference here, and here there's also a difference of 1. We have a difference here of 1 as well. Then we have a difference of 4 here. Okay, as you will see when I conclude, these differences, how they affect the members of parliament, and how is whether it's underrepresented or it's overrepresented. But the biggest concern is on the Harare province, where you have, ZEC records 29 members of parliament, yet it must have 34 members of parliament. Also, if you look at Masvingo province, there is also a difference there. So this needs to be clarified or rectified. Yeah. Right. Here, these are population variances, the differences between the lower limits and the upper limits. This is not something that we can use importantly, but you see, what I can just say is that the bigger the gap in between the two lines shows that there is a big, there is a misnomer somehow, because we have used the same calculation, percentage calculation, fraction, then the lines must differ like with the same gap. Okay, but if you see something like this or something like this, the differences in the two gaps here would mean that maybe the numbers, the calculations have been over, like I said in the previous slide, that it's underrepresented, overrepresented. But this is not much of a use anyway. But if I can move into the analysis constituency by constituency, yeah. So what I've done here is to do the how each province, each constituency is over. This is the difference from the 20%, from the 20% upper limit. Okay, 20% upper limit, which is 33,168. So this number will represent whether how the population of each constituency is over or below the actual number of 27,000. So if the number is negative, it means it's over by that number. Okay, so what it means is that if you see a negative number that is greater than 27,641, what it simply means is that that is another constituency that should have been created in that particular constituency. It means that this constituency is a population which has exceeded the actual population by another constituency, a number that is equivalent to another constituency. So that's what you must know here. If I coded it green, it means it's not much of a problem, because you can't create a constituency, from 3,000 people. Like in this case, it's green. it's not much of a problem. But if it's orange, it needs attention because it will have maybe more than 15,000 people. You could have played around with these constituencies, to make sure that if you get 15,000 people, you can get some from another part of part of the constituency. You just extend the boundary a little bit to make another constituency if it is in orange. But if it is red, it means that it will have exceeded the population of the constituents by 27,000 or by over 27,000. It means that it will have another, it will have created another constituency. So in Blair constituents, in Blair constituents, you can see it's not much of a problem here. Okay, it's not much of a problem because we have a green here, which means that this is all well. According to ZEC as well, it's all well. If you wanted to find how many members of parliament are required here, what you do is you take this number here, divide it by 27,641 to get the number of members of parliament. Okay, all right. Right, in the Harare metropolitan, you can see here in these constituencies, we have the orange one here. All right, the orange one. It means that the population, which it has exceeded by quite a considerable number. But if it is in red color, it means that it is more than 21,000, 27,000, or 20 in its 20s, 20,000. Okay, to mean that ZEC could have formed another constituency because of this population. Okay, that is Harare part 1. And Harare part 2, Harare metropolitan part 2, seems to be clean because the numbers or the population is actually quite well organized there. Right, when we come to Manicaland, we have again another challenge here where we have another constituency that has exceeded by a population that is equivalent to another constituency, which means that another constituency can be created in Manicaland province and Dangamvura. So this can be another constituency that can be created from there. Okay, in terms of population. In Manicaland part 2, you can see it's in its greens. I mean that well, they exceeded, but well, because of some other factors like maybe geographical features or some other that cannot be changed, but the population is also not very alarming. It's not a problem there. Then when you come to Mashonaland Central Part 1, there is an orange one here. It's of concern. You can look at that as well. If you are serious in delimitation, you can see what you can do with these numbers. Okay, and then Mashonaland Central Part 2. Not much that I can say out of that. Then Mashonaland East Part 1. Also, there is nothing more that I can say except one red here, which you can see that you could actually form another constituency out of the numbers that you have there. Okay, so these they need to be looked into so that you can have other constituencies formed out of that. Okay, so this looks like maybe two constituencies that could have been formed, close to two constituencies that could have been formed in this constituency. Okay. Right, Mashonaland the East Part 2 looks clean with only one here in green. Okay. Right, here Mashonaland West Part 1 also in green. Not much that I can say about this. Then we come to this as well. Not much of a concern. Also in this case here, not much of a concern. Masvingo Part 2, not much of a concern. Matabele North Province, not much of a concern there. Mashonaland, Matabele South Province, not much of a concern. Yeah, Midlands, okay, also fine. Midlands Part 2 looks fine. Right, let's look at the main findings here. Okay, now the report by ZEC has, some inaccuracies in the following. Okay, so the first one is that when ZEC reported their numbers, the number of registered voters online, at one time they gave 5,804,569, which can be seen on this link here. Right. This document was signed by Mr. Otoile Slaigwana. Okay. On the second part, in their documents inside their reports, they reported that the number of registered voters is 5,804,376. This document here is also an official document from ZEC, which shows another number again, which they and all remember that these numbers is as at 30 of May 2022, as they reported. Okay, now Mashonaland North is overrepresented by one member of parliament. Matabele North Province is overrepresented by one member of parliament. Matabele South is overrepresented by 4 members of parliament. Midlands is overrepresented by 1 member of parliament. Mashonaland West is underrepresented by 1 member of parliament. Mashonaland West is underrepresented by 1 member of parliament. Mashonaland Central is underrepresented by 1 member of parliament. Masvingo is overrepresented by 4 members of parliament. Harare is underrepresented by 5 members of parliament. Bulawayo is overrepresented by 3 members of parliament. Right. Now, the question is there gerrymandering in this delimitation? Now, the answer is yes, if the discrepancy in the is over and underrepresentation secures a 2/3 majority for a particular political party. If that happens, then there is what is called gerrymandering. What is gerrymandering? Gerrymandering is actually playing around with electoral boundaries to favor or a certain political party. So in this case, if you want to see whether gerrymandering is taking place in this delimitation exercise, for example, if you know your stronghold constituencies where you can obtain clean sweeps and you have more than 67% of the total vote, but your members of parliament are still less than 140. Remember that 140 is 2/3 of 210. Now, then gerrymandering will have taken place. It means that whoever has made the boundaries he had made sure that even if you get 3/4 of the total vote, or 67%, that is 2/3 of the total vote, you are not guaranteed to get those members in parliament, that you require. Yeah, for example, if you look at Harare province, it is underrepresented by 5 members of parliament, despite the population of over 900,000 people. So, say what you want. Give me the comments. If you want, you can just drop them in the comment box. Thank you very much.